Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move items 5, 6, and 7 out of order and have them first, please.
Second.
Discussion? Favoring, opposed, motion carries. That would be prior to the public hearing. No one has signed up for the public hearing. Ms. Russell?
5, 6, and 7.
Okay, item 5, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Councilmember Kubosh?
Mayor, I have, for the last 5 months, been talking about the municipal court, about the fact that we're spending more money and our revenues are less. I feel like the courts have not been properly managed. I have addressed your appointee, Judge Hartel, in committee about her testimony before House and Senate committees that do not line up with what she says here at the city and testimony here. I have repeatedly commented about how the courts over the last 6 years, 4 to 6 years, have continually been mismanaged. And we can't blame it all on C-Smart, but if this was a corporation and this individual was the CEO that had been gone a long time ago, I'm just telling you, I oppose this appointment, a reappointment, and this is another one of these situations that I've told the citizens about, that the administration brings somebody from outside the city to put over one of our departments, and that's what happened years ago. Our prior presiding judge, Ms. Mejia, was then, and then before that was Sylvia Garcia. But I will be opposing this, and I do not believe that we should reappoint Ms. Hartle. Thank you.
Councilmember, on the contrary, I think Judge Hartel has done an exemplary job in both the management of the court system and in the provision of justice through our municipal courts. And actually, it's hard for me to understand how you think I hired somebody from the outside, since she was a municipal court judge, both a part-time and then a full-time judge for several years prior to me appointing her. Councilmember Pennington.
Thank you, Mayor. I also am going to oppose this appointment. I voted for Judge Hartle to begin with because I agree with you. She did work her way up. I think she was a jailer to begin with, and she went to law school, and she had worked in all aspects, I think, of municipal justice. And so I favored her then, but I think if you just look at the record of what's happened over there, it is not good. It's a complex situation, and so I just don't think that the job has been quite done. If you just, I mean, personalities aside, if you just look at the record of what's occurred over there, I don't think it's good. As I've emphasized before, to some people, the municipal courts are their citizens, only window to what we do, and I think it's important not only for a sense of justice, but also of public relations that we run the courts in a thoughtful and efficient way, and as well as maximizing revenues to the city while doing the first two things. So I just don't think it's being done. Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just say that I think Judge Hartle has done a fantastic job for what she's had to work with, and it's very interesting to hear that we are aligning our revenue generating based upon this particular office. Now, last time I checked, municipal courts are supposed to administer justice, not make dollars for the city. I mean, when we talk about HPD, are we talking about how much revenue they're bringing in? Although they do have some revenue generating streams? I don't think so. So, to try to link the two, job performance based upon revenue or a service that we are required by law to provide, a mandate from the state where we have to have our municipal court system in place, and to base someone's performance on a mandate, I don't think it's fair. I think she's done a tremendous job. The facilities there, we know are subpar. We're talking about building a new facility. We have customers having to wait outside, but guess what? You never hear any stories about it's not being equitable. You don't hear any stories about people being mistreated. At the end of the day, we have a good, fair, equitable municipal courts where all Houstonians can go down and have an opportunity to hear their cases tried fairly. And the reason why we had that is because of Judge Hartel. And so I strongly support her, and hopefully I ask my colleagues to do the same.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, you know, Councilmember Kubosh, I know you're down there a lot, but I'm down there a lot as well. And throughout the city of Houston, I met a few other ones as well. And they have a good process from my understanding. And so if Judge Hartle has anything to do with that, but I think it was a system that was started before that, because I think I was been down there since then, prior to that, her coming down there. But I just want to say thank you, Judge Hartle, for keeping the court systems running the way, and I'm sure that there can be some improvement, likely in every organization, but I will be supporting Judge Hartle on this one.
Thank you. Councilmember Laster.
Thank you, Mayor, and I guess I would like to just reiterate, I couldn't say it any stronger than my colleague, Councilmember Green, has said it. It is, I'm going to be honored to vote for Judge Hartle. I found her to be probably among the most pleasant appointed officials that we had at City Hall dealing with incredibly difficult issues. She has been tasked with administering a department of casts of nearly thousands, and we certainly serve thousands of people on an annual basis in that regard. I found her to be responsive. I share many concerns about the C-SMART system, and I've articulated that. It's my understanding that she's inherited that issue, and she's trying to make the best out of a bad situation. But I do want to say I want to thank her for her leadership, I want to thank her for her responsiveness, and I want to thank her for doing all the work, as Councilmember Green has said, is administering justice as best as one can do in this city. Thank you.
Councilmember Kubosh.
I've been down here 20 years. I've been watching what's been going on for 20 years. I'm your eyes and ears at the city courts. Now, I don't know why Councilmember Davis has been down there, but I know why. And I'll say this, when I go to the legislature and I have a presiding judge sitting with an assistant chief of police from the city of Houston, and they're testifying, and later they said, I'm told, well, they just misspoke. I don't believe that they should misspeak at all when you testify before the state legislature, the House, and the Senate. I have those transcripts. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to ask you to vote no. This is not acceptable. We do not push our personal agenda in any location in the city, including the municipal courts. I'm concerned about the direction this city's going, and this budgetary process with the municipal courts, we're spending more money, we're doing less for spending more money. And then you want to talk about building a criminal justice center in that location. I'm concerned about the finances of the city, and just because you haven't heard of the complaining of people who've had to wait until 1:30 for trials whenever the administration acted and moved the officers and told them to disobey court subpoenas to be there at 8. They were told to be there at 1:30. Then they had to redo all the subpoenas. This is wrong. People having to wait there till 1:30 in the afternoon. Then now they say it's 10:30. It's not justice, it's injustice. And I'm going to speak loud and long about it. You approve this individual, I'll still be speaking about it, because the people demand to be heard at this council table. I'm voting no.
Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I I can't attest to the fact that I have been down at the courts, either for whatever reason Councilmember Davis has, or others, but I have known Judge Hartle for quite some time, going back to, frankly, even my years at the Women's Center. And when I was elected, I have found her to be extremely open, extremely available, willing to come to my office to explain things to me, to let me know what's happening at the court system. She has, I find, a personality that listens. She takes your advice, processes it, does what she thinks is important. I would strongly support her approval in her position and urge my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Council Mayor. I can say for the record, as a police officer and someone who has spent a number of hours or perhaps days at municipal courts over the years, I've watched municipal courts and their operations since 1979. And speaking just, brutally honest, as I am always, and, it's kind of hard to penetrate the bark on me, but I can say this, that I'm surprised and disappointed that Judge Hartle took on the C-SMART project versus Charles Thompson, the IT director. I have serious concerns about C-SMART. Still today I do. But nonetheless, Judge Hartle has been, her job is outside the C-SMART project. It's much more broader than C-SMART. I'm highly suspect of C-SMART. Judge Hartle has been very professional, and Judge Hartle has also responded to inquiries that I've submitted to her. She has very candidly enumerated things that were outside her control, and many of them are. As an example, the completely unacceptable conditions which the judges and police officers and citizens, prosecutors have to work in over there. That needs to be modified. Some of the complications are directly attached to the conditions that are beyond Judge Hartle's control. As a police officer and police chief, one thing that I used to measure my performance was not just how I saw myself, even though that was important, I thought. I would talk to other peers and immediate subordinates. I've talked to many of the judges that work with, around, and for Judge Hartle. They do not report negative responses to this council member. They've seen improvements. Police officers have seen improvements in operations other than those that are created by the facilities itself. And Judge Hartle doesn't control those facilities. So I think that when I do the analysis and try to make a decision whether we reappoint Judge Hartle or not, my answer is an affirmative, because what I've seen her do, what I've seen her attempt to do, and those things that are still outstanding, like C-SMART, I think that's yet to be determined, but I don't think that's her deal. That's technology, and that's Director Thompson's purview in this council member's stance. So I think that when it comes to moving the operation forward, and I acknowledge that some of the issues that Councilmember Kubosh mentioned about the police officers, the report time, 10 versus 1, I concur with that aspect of what you said. But at the same time, I stand down and say, you know what, if the police chief isn't screaming about the impact that's having on his officers, who am I? I'm the used-to-be chief over there. I agree with you, Councilmember Kubosh. I think that's something that needs to be modified. But if the department's not screaming about it, the officers are still complaining about that, by the way. That's not a Judge Hartle issue, though, again. So, having said that, I'm going to stand with the re-nomination of Judge Hartle and allow her to demonstrate that she is responsive. She's certainly professional, and I can appreciate what she has done despite the deplorable conditions and restraints that they have that are beyond her control. I stand down.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just want to be on record to say, unlike my two colleagues, Kubosh and Davis, I'm so glad I haven't had to go and experience a relationship with Judge Hartle down at the courthouse. But I want to be on record to say I'm definitely supporting you. I think you're doing a fantastic job from what I'm reading. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know processes, but if I don't hear anything, Judge, apparently things are going okay, and I'm accepting that. And I think the constituents from District D, I haven't heard any complaints. And anything we can do to help advance your office and operation, let us know.
Councilor Waxman?
Mayor, I'd like to call the question, please.
Motion to call the question. Is there a second?
Second.
There are some, Bennington and Kubosh are also in the queue. But there's a motion to call the question. We'll move to a vote on the motion to call the question. Favoring? Opposed?
No.
We need a show of hands, please. Those in favor of calling the question, please raise your hand. Those opposed, calling the question. We'll continue the discussion.